The peak was he just owned a fighter jet, a MiG from Russia, like a real MiG fighter jet in your backyard. So it's now a while ago that I received a request from our mutual friend Matthew Ivanhoe from the Cultivated Collector, who just called me and said, "Hey, buddy, I'm looking for a good customer of mine." He was a little bit trying to make a secret out of it, but not because he doesn't want to tell, but probably because he didn't want to excite me too much, and said, "Hey, a good customer of mine who had a small but nice lineup of cars is looking for something special, LM002." So honestly, there are not that many people looking for that, because we all know that it's the Rambo Lambo. It's a cool car, no question about that. We had some of them. Like, this is a car you just add to your collection when you don't have any other idea anymore, I have to say honestly. Like, it's a very cool car. Is it driving nice? I think nobody would expect the answer on that question, but it's just something so cool that you at some point have to have one if you can. So he said, "I'm looking for that. The customer wants to buy a Countach or an LM002. I said, "Okay." So I don't honestly get in touch that often with people who own a 002, because they, first of all, don't drive them, because nobody can afford the gas for these cars anymore. Like, probably from inside the city outside to the airport and back, where you have to refuel twice probably. So, but I said, "Hey, you know what? I just think about who probably has still one of the guys where I knew they had one a while ago or so." I was sitting in the car with my dad, driving back from, I think it was Switzerland, after car week, and said, "Hey, do you remember the name of the guy where you sold that beige champagne colored good LM002 carburetor car in a good condition too, and do you still have the contact?" Like, Matt called me and he requested if we might know a guy who has a good one, as they are pretty rare on the planet. You cannot find them that easy. He said, "Yeah, I can remember the name, but I've heard that this guy died for any kind of, I think it was cancer, pretty sadly, and died pretty fast. A very enthusiastic, passionate Lamborghini guy, who is someone who owns an LM002, or basically he owned two of them. Is of course, you need some kind of passion, and he also built up 3 different Gallardos. So he had a police Gallardo and a fire Gallardo and kind of a stealth bomber refuel Gallardo with some kind of connection where you can refuel a jet with. And he all built that by himself. But where, by the way, I have to say, on the police car, he made a great job. Cool car, very cool thing. But anyway, so we called the family, and the oldest daughter of him had all the cars from, and said, "Yeah, I don't have that 002 anymore. This is the car I sold, but I have one car left." And so it ended up that my dad drove over to see what kind of car that is, and it was for sure not running because it was standing for years, so it probably needed proper service, but it was running until end of his life. So something where I thought it's probably possible to make a deal out of it. And my dad came back after that trip, which was 400-500 kilometers, which is a big distance in Europe, right? Not in the US, but in Europe, that is a proper distance. And came back and said, "Hey, I have seen this LM. It's modified, like it's a modified car in a cool way. Probably some people would remember that there is this LM thing in the built for the desert in that kind of sand beige color, with some weird computers inside, with that little arm in the front which measures the speed of the wind. Completely useless, of course, but there was this car standing looking like that, but not made by the factory, but a cool thing. But he said he wasn't aware which kind of a collection that guy had. Like, he knew that he had a Diablo, a Stig Mercy with a wing as big of the wings of an Airbus, incredibly big, and it was basically in the area of south of Germany where many people just own something great but don't speak about it, like farmers who own incredible cars. They have standing F40s in barns, barely used, or Lamborghinis, just some guys who have great cars. But anyway, he said, "Hey, I've made some pictures, and there are 2 cars I think we have to buy." And he showed me a picture of a red First Series Diablo, which I'm a big fan of. Like, a red First Series Diablo is like one of my favorites. Like all the Diablos are great cars for sure. Some of them are very special, rare, desirable. Others probably a little bit less because they are just a little bit more made. But when you see all the models, they are pretty rare for themselves. And this first series is pretty raw. It's like, and for me, the idea of the design is the original one. Great cars to drive. No power steering. The dash is way too big, but they are fast and so great cars. And I said, yeah, this is something makes sense. I believe in these cars. They are way too cheap. I guess they will appreciate a little bit more. And what they did since then, like incredibly fast, something you just cannot calculate. And beside that, he said these cars were standing. They need a little bit of work. And I said, okay, I'm curious, what is the second one? I guess it's a Gallardo we would have to pick up or so. Yeah, but it wasn't. He said, this is here, look on the picture. And I have seen an orange painted GTR Diablo, which is special for itself. But he said, yeah, this is something with Mercy wheels on it. Like it was a GTR with Diablo GT wheel nuts and Mercy wheels, which I can tell, don't even need to show a picture, that is looking not good. That just doesn't fit. But anyway, I had in mind, hey, we can change the wheels and make something out of it. And he said, yeah, my dad said, I have no idea what it really is, but it's a proper race car. Like it has no cluster, like the wheels, so the steering wheel has a digital cluster in it and like a proper roll cage and like something serious, not to drive around, but cool. So we ended up buying these two cars and picked them up. I walked through and I've learned that a racing Diablo and an LM was not the peak of his freaking outness, if that makes sense. The peak was he just owned a fighter jet, a MiG from Russia, like a real MiG fighter jet in your backyard, which the Lambos, they looked pretty much completely normal life next to this kind of stuff. Speedboats, all that kind of stuff. What you can buy but don't need. So we drove home, transported the cars home. I drove the first series, and just this is a testimonial to how good a Lamborghini Diablo is. Sitting for 7 years, refueled it, just of course jump started it with the old battery after 7 years of standing. You have to see like small spiders in the car here and there. Not even a flat tire. Jump started the car, waited 5 minutes, and I drove home 500 kilometers with this car. After 7 years of standing, no service, nothing at all. No light on. Engine behaved well. Of course, I was driving slowly in the first 200-300 kilometers just to my therapy thing, because I believe in how you treat a car, it will be alive again. It's something mechanical. When you bring up some kind of feeling for the machinery, it will pay back. But after these drive home, after these 500 kilometers, the car was behaving pretty nice, had incredible amount of power, was pushing. I couldn't even stop smiling with this adventure by finding these cars in that barn. But that was pretty much not the end. Next day, I took off. The GTR was transported by the trailer, put it off the trailer, and started to do some research. I wasn't able to get the VIN numbers and all that stuff before we bought the cars, but I was pretty much for sure I want to own it. It was fairly priced, like when you just compare it to normal GTR prices, which are skyrocketed already. And I thought, okay, the condition is not bad. It's just very dusty with some stickers and wrong wheels, but all over was pretty nice. And so we went through the car and had a look here and there and recognized, okay, it was a VIN number from 1992, but it was definitely a proper racing chassis with even way more than a normal GTR. The frame was thicker here and there. It was way more complex, complete carbon fiber body, so it was a proper race car. The engine even behaved so much more aggressive than a normal one. And we started to do some digging here and there. And so what we find out, that even blew my mind. After not being able to stop driving home with the first series, which was working after 7-8 years, that was the peak. It was pretty easy. We Googled the VIN, did some research, and what we found out, that was absolutely incredible. As I'm a big fan of racing Lamborghinis, especially Diablos and the RGT Mercies, we found out that this car was something took as a development for doing international racing with the GTRs. You can imagine Lamborghini never had money for racing before Audi took over, And even in the first 2-3 years, Audi didn't invest money. And even we would have no mercy race cars without Reiter engineering, which started with GTR Lamborghinis to make them being able to race FIA GT. So what we find out was that in 2002, in Estoril, Portugal, Reiter Engineering competed with a special Lamborghini Diablo, not a direct GTR, but that car competed against 550s, Viper GTSRs. I think that some other great stuff from back in the day. They did such a great job that they reached 8th place overall. Were only stopped by a failure in the gearbox, so pretty much Italian behavior by the car. And then FIA GT has a logbook where you have to put in VINs. So what we found out at that point was that this car was racing in 2002 in Estoril as the very first Diablo, joining FIA GT, GT1 racing, and did pretty well with, I think it was Emanuele Clerico and Lee Cunningham from France and the UK. So absolutely incredible development car. And we decided to, what do we have to do? We have to bring it back to its old glory in that bright black with all the right stickers on it. That's what we did. And nowadays it's standing next to my SVR, making look this one as a children's bobby car because of this 2 meters wide wing. Absolutely incredible. And I'm so proud that we were part of, or be part of, the history of this car. This is how we discovered a great piece of history in a barn of a farmer who had a MiG fighter jet and some crazy Lamborghinis.
For the last 20 years or so, I've been working with Premier Financial Services for my own exotic car needs, but also sending friends and clients when I was a car dealer to Premier Financial Services because their simple lease is truly the most powerful tool in the world of exotic car financing. We love it because we get all the great things about leasing, like low upfronts, better tax treatment for business owners, lower sales taxes, but we also retain all the great things about a traditional finance arrangement, like the ability to accumulate equity, trade in and out whenever you want, and always know where your payoff stands because they give you an amortization table with every single lease. And Premier's been a supporter of VINwiki here for the last 8 years, and we love them for that, but truly because the customer support of the Premier Financial Services team is unmatched. And now that they're backed and wholly owned by First Financial Bank, that gives them even more buying power for their portfolio of the most significant and valuable collector and exotic cars in the world. It's also allowing them to create new and more interesting finance options and programs for their clients and giving them much more buying power, which is what everybody is looking for as they go on the search for their dream car. So check out Premier Financial Services right now at the link in the description below to thank them for their support of VINwiki and know that they'll be the perfect supporter of your journey to own your dream car.